The cantina on Nexus Station buzzed with voices from a dozen different worlds. Jake Morrison sat at the bar, nursing his drink and watching the mix of humans and aliens that filled the crowded space. The station served as a neutral meeting point for military forces across the galaxy, and tonight it showed. Jake wore his Terran Defense Corps uniform with pride. The black fabric with silver trim marked him as a pilot, and the patches on his shoulders told of battles fought in the Outer Rim colonies. He had earned his place here through skill and courage, not politics or connections. Across the room, a commotion started near the gaming tables. Jake turned to see what was happening and felt his jaw tighten. 3 Zephyrian officers surrounded a small human woman. The aliens stood nearly 8 feet tall, their blue skin gleaming under the cantina lights. Their military uniforms were decorated with medals and rank insignia that marked them as experienced warriors. The woman looked tiny next to them. She wore a simple yellow sundress that came to her knees and flat shoes that made no sound on the metal floor. Her dark hair was pulled back in a casual ponytail, and she carried a small purse over her shoulder. She looked like she was dressed for a day of shopping, not for visiting a military station. "Look at this creature," one of the Zephyrians said, his voice carrying across the cantina. "The humans send their females to represent them in such pathetic garments." The woman stood quietly, her hands at her sides. She did not back away, but she did not challenge them either. Other patrons in the cantina began to notice the scene. Some moved closer to watch, while others pretended not to see. "Your species is weak," another Zephyrian continued. "Your males hide behind walls while your females dress like children playing games. How did creatures like you ever leave your home planet?" Jake felt anger rise in his chest. He had seen this before on other stations and other worlds. Some alien species thought humans were soft because they did not always fight first and ask questions later. They judged human women especially harshly, not understanding that human females could be just as dangerous as males. The lead Zephyrian, whose uniform showed the rank of war commander, stepped closer to the woman. His name tag read Vextar in both Zephyrian script and standard galactic text. "Answer me, little human," Vextar demanded. "Do you not speak? Are you here to serve drinks to the real warriors?" The woman finally spoke, her voice calm and steady. "I'm just passing through." "Just passing through," Vextar repeated, making his voice high to mock her. "In your little dress and your little shoes, tell me, human, what use are you to anyone? What can your kind possibly offer to the galaxy?" Jake had heard enough. He stood from his bar stool and walked across the cantina floor, his boots made solid. Sounds on the metal and conversations died as people noticed him approaching. "Is there a problem here?" Jake asked, stopping a few feet from the group. Vextar turned to face him, a smile spreading across his alien features. "Ah, now we see the truth. The human male comes to protect his weak female. How touching." "She's not my anything," Jake said. "I just don't like bullies." "Bullies?" Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "We are simply observing the pathetic nature of your species. Look at her. She dresses like a child going to play in a garden. Is this what humans consider appropriate attire for a military station?" Jake glanced at the woman. She did look out of place among all the uniforms and tactical gear. Her dress was pretty but seemed more suitable for a peaceful colony world than a station filled with military personnel from aggressive species. "Maybe she's not military," Jake said. "Maybe she's a civilian." "Even worse," the second Zephyrian said. "Your species sends civilians to wander military installations. No discipline, no structure, no wonder you humans struggle to hold your territory." The woman spoke again, still in that same calm voice. "I can handle this myself." Jake looked at her with surprise. She seemed so small and fragile compared to the towering aliens. Her dress made her look young and innocent, like someone who had never seen real conflict. "Ma'am, these aren't the kind of beings you want to handle alone," Jake said. "Why don't you let me take care of this?" Vextar's laugh grew louder. "Perfect. The human male thinks his female cannot defend herself. He speaks to her like she is a child who might hurt herself with sharp objects." Jake felt heat rise in his face. "That's not what I meant." "Of course it is," Vextar said. "Your entire species operates this way. Males pretend to be strong while females pretend to be helpless. Neither of you are actually dangerous to anyone. The cantina had gone quiet now. Beings from a dozen species watched the confrontation. Jake could see Karathi warriors with their insect-like features, hegemony soldiers in their power armor, and even a few mantid collective drones clicking their mandibles in what might have been amusement. "You want to see dangerous?" Jake asked, his hand moving toward the weapon on his belt. "Jake, don't." The woman's voice was sharp now, carrying a tone of command that made him pause. Vextar noticed the change too. His head tilted as he studied her more carefully. "Interesting," the war commander said. "The little female gives orders to the male. Perhaps there is more to this than appearances suggest." The woman's eyes met Vextar's directly for the first time. Jake saw something there that he had missed before. Her gaze was steady and calculating, like someone sizing up an opponent. "There usually is," she said simply. Vextar straightened to his full height, towering over both humans. "Very well. Since your species seems so confident, perhaps we should test this confidence properly." He raised his voice so the entire cantina could hear him. "I, War Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian military caste, issue a formal challenge to the human military forces. Send your best pilot to face our best in combat trials. Let us see if humans are truly worthy to share space with warrior species." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Combat challenges were serious business in this part of the galaxy. They were legal, binding, and often ended with someone dead. "If your pilot wins," Vexitar continued, "we will acknowledge human military competence. If your pilot loses, then humanity will admit their inferiority and withdraw from all contested territories." Jake felt his heart pound. This was much bigger than a cantina argument. This could affect human colonies across several systems. The woman adjusted her purse strap and smoothed down her dress. "Interesting terms," she said. Then she turned and walked toward the cantina exit, her flat shoes making soft sounds on the floor. Jake watched her go, noting how she moved with perfect balance despite her casual appearance. Vextar called after her. "Run along, little human. Send your warriors to face real combat." The woman paused at the doorway without turning around. "I'll consider it." Then she was gone, leaving Jake alone with 3 angry Zephyrians and a cantina full of aliens who now saw humanity as weak and cowardly. The challenge had been issued. Now someone would have to answer it. Jake woke up in his quarters 24 hours later, to the sound of his communication device buzzing. The message light blinked red, indicating priority military traffic. He rolled out of his narrow bunk and activated the screen. The face of Admiral Kate Brooks appeared, her expression serious. "Morrison, report to Command Center immediately. We have a situation." Jake dressed quickly in his uniform and made his way through the station corridors. Nexus Station never truly slept, but the early morning shift was usually quiet. Today felt different. He passed groups of beings talking in hushed voices, and several alien officers gave him looks that ranged from curious to hostile. The command center buzzed with activity when Jake arrived. Human officers worked at various stations, while holographic displays showed star charts and military readiness reports. Admiral Brooks stood at the central table, studying data screens with 2 other senior officers. "Morrison," she called when she saw him enter. "Good timing. We need to discuss yesterday's incident in the cantina." Jake's stomach dropped. He had filed a routine report about the confrontation, but he hoped it would be forgotten quickly. "Ma'am, I can explain." "Explain what?" Admiral Brooks asked. "That a Zephyrian war commander issued a formal combat challenge that has now spread across 6 star systems? That alien military commanders are calling emergency meetings to discuss human military capabilities? That betting pools have opened on 12 different worlds?" Jake stared at her. "Betting pools? The challenge is big news, Morrison, very big news. The Zephyrians have allied with the Karathi and hegemony forces for this contest. They're treating it like a test of human worthiness to exist in civilized space." One of the other officers, Colonel Ryan Davis, turned to face Jake. "The good news is that someone has already registered to accept the challenge." "Who?" Jake asked. Admiral Brooks activated a holographic display. A registration form appeared in the air between them, showing official contest rules and participant information. L. Carter, Terran Defense Corps, she read aloud. Registered approximately 6 hours after the challenge was issued. Jake frowned. The name seemed familiar, but he could not place it immediately. "Do we know this, Carter?" he asked. "That's what we're trying to figure out," Colonel Davis said. "The registration came through official channels with proper military codes, but the personnel file is restricted." Admiral Brooks touched her control panel and more information appeared on the display. "What we do know is concerning. This L. Carter has requested very specific equipment for the contest, an F-35 Lightning II with custom modifications." "An F-35?" Jake asked. "That's ancient technology. Some of those fighters are over 30 years old." "Exactly our concern," Admiral Brooks said. "The aliens will be using their most advanced combat aircraft, Zephyrian Void-class interceptors, Korathi bioships, Hegemony adaptive fighters. Our representative wants to face them in what they'll see as obsolete human technology." Colonel Davis pulled up technical specifications. The contest rules are complex. Multiple phases including navigation challenges, precision targeting, and live combat simulation. Each species fields their best pilot in their best aircraft. Winner takes all. "What exactly do they win?" Jake asked. Admiral Brooks's expression grew darker. "If we lose, humanity agrees to withdraw from all disputed territories in 3 sectors. That includes the mining colonies on Kepler 438b and the research stations around Wolf 359. Jake felt the weight of the situation settle on his shoulders. Those colonies supported millions of humans and represented decades of expansion effort. "If we win?" he asked. "The alien coalition acknowledges human military competence and agrees to respect our territorial claims," Admiral Brooks said. "Plus, we gain significant intelligence about their military capabilities." Jake studied the registration information again. Something about the name L. Carter bothered him, but he could not identify what. "Ma'am, I'd like to volunteer to replace this Carter person," he said. "I have experience with older aircraft systems and I've flown against alien pilots before." "That's generous, Morrison. But the registration is already official. The alien commanders have accepted L. Carter as humanity's representative. We can't change it now without looking weak and disorganized." Colonel Davis activated another display showing the contest timeline. "The challenges begin in 72 hours, 5 phases over 2 days, with rest periods between major events." Jake examined the schedule. The early phases focused on basic flight skills and navigation. The later phases involved increasingly complex combat scenarios, ending with direct pilot versus pilot engagement. "Has anyone tried to contact this L. Carter?" Jake asked. "We've sent messages to the registered communication address," Admiral Brooks said. "No response yet." Jake thought about the woman in the yellow dress from the cantina. She had disappeared so quickly after the challenge was issued. Could there be a connection? "Admiral, yesterday there was a human woman in the cantina. When the challenge happened, she left right after it was issued. Do we know who she was?" "Describe her," Colonel Davis said. "Small, maybe 5'4", dark hair in a ponytail, wearing a yellow sundress and flat shoes. She looked like a civilian, but something about her seemed off." Admiral Brooks and Colonel Davis exchanged glances. "Interesting," Admiral Brooks said. "Station security shows Elisa Carter checked into temporary quarters 2 days ago. Civilian transport from the Centauri system." "Lisa Carter," Jake repeated. "L. Carter. Could be a coincidence," Colonel Davis said. "Carter is a common human surname." Admiral Brooks pulled up station records. Lisa Carter, age 34, listed occupation as consultant. No other details available. Jake felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in his mind. The woman in the cantina knew how to handle herself. When I tried to help her, she told me to back off like someone used to giving orders. "You think a civilian consultant registered to fight alien military pilots in advanced combat aircraft?" Colonel Davis asked. "I think we need to find her and ask," Jake said. Admiral Brooks nodded. "Agreed. Morrison, you're assigned to locate Lisa Carter and determine her qualifications. If she's not capable of handling this challenge, we need to "No, immediately," Jake saluted. "Yes, ma'am." As he turned to leave, Admiral Brooks called after him. "Morrison, one more thing. The aliens are taking this very seriously. They've brought their best pilots and their most advanced fighters. If this Lisa Carter is really planning to face them in an old F-35, she better be the best pilot in human space." Jake left the command center with a growing sense of unease. The stakes were enormous, and their representative was a mystery woman who dressed like she was going to a garden party. He made his way to the station's civilian quarters, hoping to find answers before it was too late. The corridors seemed different now, filled with tension and whispered conversations about the upcoming contest. Alien officers watched him pass with expressions ranging from amusement to contempt. They clearly expected an easy victory over whatever human pilot dared to face them. Jake hoped they were wrong. For humanity's sake, he hoped Lisa Carter knew something the rest of them did not. Jake found the civilian quarter section after 20 minutes of searching. The station's layout was confusing, with multiple levels and sections serving different purposes. He passed alien visitors, human diplomats, and various support staff as he made his way through the corridors. Room C-247 had a simple metal door with a basic keypad lock. Jake pressed the door chime and waited. No response. He tried again, holding the button longer this time. "She's not there." Jake turned to see a maintenance worker in gray coveralls approaching with a cart of tools. "Do you know where she went?" Jake asked. The worker shrugged. "Saw her leave early this morning with a bag. Looked like she was moving to a different section of the station." Jake thanked him and headed back toward the main corridors. If Lisa Carter had moved, she might have upgraded to military quarters. That would make sense if she was really planning to participate in the contest. At the military housing desk, Jake showed his identification to the clerk, a young human corporal named Danny Price. "I need to locate Lisa Carter," Jake said. "She may have recently transferred to military quarters." Corporal Price typed on his computer terminal. "Let me check. Carter. Here we go. Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Carter transferred to VIP quarter section this morning." Jake stared at the screen. "Lieutenant Colonel?" "Yes, sir. Priority accommodation in the officer wing. Room V15. Jake's mind raced. A lieutenant colonel was a senior officer, not a civilian consultant. Someone had made a serious mistake in the records, or Lisa Carter was not who she appeared to be. The VIP quarters were in a different part of the station entirely. Jake took 2 transport pods and walked through 3 security checkpoints before reaching the correct section. The corridors here were wider, with better lighting and actual carpet instead of metal flooring. Room V15 had a more sophisticated door with both keypad and biometric locks. Jake pressed the chime and heard footsteps inside. The door opened to reveal the woman from the cantina. She still wore casual clothes, but now Jake noticed details he had missed before. Her posture was perfectly straight. Her eyes moved constantly to check her surroundings, and her hands remained in positions where she could react quickly to threats. "Commander Morrison," she said, as if she had been expecting him. "Ma'am," Jake said, suddenly uncertain about how to address her. "I'm trying to locate someone named Lisa Carter." "You found her," she said, stepping back to let him enter. The room was larger than standard quarters, with a separate sitting area and workspace. Multiple computer screens showed technical diagrams and star charts. A military uniform hung on a hook near the bed, complete with pilot wings and rank insignia. "Lieutenant Colonel Carter?" Jake asked. "That's correct." She gestured toward a chair. "Please sit down. We need to talk." Jake remained standing. "Ma'am, I'm confused. Yesterday you were dressed like a civilian. Today I find out you're a senior officer who's registered to fight alien pilots in a contest that could determine humanity's future in this region." Lisa walked to one of the computer screens and activated a display. Technical specifications for various aircraft appeared, including detailed schematics of F-35 Lightning II fighters. "What exactly did you think was happening yesterday, Commander?" she asked. "I thought you were a civilian being harassed by alien bullies. I was trying to help." Lisa turned to face him. "And what did you observe about my behavior during that encounter?" Jake thought back to the cantina scene. "You stayed calm. You didn't back down. You seemed to be studying them while they talked. What else? When I tried to intervene, you told me not to, like someone used to giving orders. Jake paused. You were gathering intelligence. Very good, Lisa said. What did you think of War Commander Vextar and his officers? Typical Zephyrian arrogance. They think humans are weak because we don't always fight first and ask questions later. Lisa activated another screen showing detailed files on Zephyrian military personnel. Vextar's face appeared alongside combat statistics and psychological profiles. War Commander Vextar has fought in 17 major battles. He's never lost a single ship engagement. His preferred tactics involve overwhelming speed and firepower. He assumes all opponents will react with fear or anger when threatened. Jake studied the information. You've been researching him. I've been researching all of them, Lisa said, switching to files on Karathi and Hegemony pilots. The challenge wasn't unexpected, Commander. We've been monitoring alien military attitudes toward human expansion for months. We? Lisa's expression became more serious. Terran Defense Intelligence. I'm not just a pilot, Commander Morrison. I'm a test pilot and intelligence operative specializing in alien military capabilities. Jake felt the room spin slightly as he processed this information. The woman in the yellow dress was a spy. The woman in the yellow dress was doing her job, Lisa corrected, gathering information about potential threats to human colonies. She activated a third screen showing the F-35 specifications he had seen earlier. But these were not standard aircraft diagrams. The schematics showed modifications and systems he had never seen before. This is your F-35, Jake asked. This is the F-35 Lightning III, Lisa said. Classified development project. We've been testing it for 2 years. Jake examined the technical details. The aircraft showed stealth capabilities beyond anything in a current service, along with weapon systems and propulsion technology that seemed impossible. It looks like standard F-35 external configuration, he said. That's the point. The aliens will see what appears to be 30-year-old human technology. They'll assume easy victory and prepare accordingly. But it's actually several generations ahead of anything they've encountered, Lisa finished. Advanced stealth systems, directed energy weapons, and propulsion that allows flight patterns, impossible with conventional technology. Jake sat down heavily in the offered chair. This whole thing is a setup. Lisa smiled for the first time since he had met her. Not a setup, Commander. An opportunity. The aliens wanted to test human military capabilities. We decided to give them a test they'll remember. She pulled up tactical analysis charts showing alien fleet positions and military doctrine. The Zephyrian-Karathi alliance has been planning aggressive expansion into human territory. They've been using incidents like yesterday's to justify military action, so you let them issue the challenge. I encouraged them to issue the challenge, Lisa corrected. By appearing weak and defensible, I made them overconfident. Now they've committed to a public contest they can't withdraw from without losing. Face among their own people. Jake studied the alien fleet positions. What happens if you lose? Lisa's expression became deadly serious. I won't lose, Commander. Too much depends on this contest. She activated a final screen showing the full contest schedule and rules. 5 phases over 2 days. Navigation, precision flying, target engagement, complex maneuvering, and pilot versus pilot combat. Against the best pilots from 3 aggressive alien species. Against overconfident pilots who think they're facing primitive human technology, Lisa said. There's a difference. Jake looked at the technical specifications again. How many people know about the Lightning III? Less than 50 humans in the entire galaxy, Lisa said. The aliens know nothing about it. And your background as a test pilot? Classified at the highest levels. My cover as a civilian consultant has been maintained for 2 years. Jake shook his head in amazement. You've been preparing for this specific scenario. We've been preparing for various scenarios involving alien aggression, Lisa said. This particular situation worked out better than we expected. She closed the technical displays and faced him directly. I need you to understand something, Commander Morrison. What happens in the next 48 hours will determine whether humanity maintains its position in this region or faces forced withdrawal from multiple star systems. No pressure, Jake said. Lisa's smile returned. I've been testing experimental aircraft for 15 years, Commander. Pressure is what I do best. Jake stood to leave, then paused at the door. Ma'am, one more question. The yellow dress yesterday, was that part of the cover? Lisa laughed, a genuine sound that made her seem more human and less like a classified weapon. Commander Morrison, sometimes a woman just wants to wear a pretty dress. Even spy pilots have personal preferences. As Jake left her quarters, he realized that humanity's fate rested in the hands of someone who could fool alien intelligence operatives while looking like she was dressed for a picnic. For the first time since the challenge was issued, he felt hopeful about their chances. The morning of the competition arrived with tension crackling through Nexus Station's corridors. Jake made his way to the main observation deck, which had been converted into a viewing arena for the contest. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy filled the seats, representing dozens of species and military organizations. The central viewing screen showed the competition staging area, a massive hangar bay where 5 aircraft waited on launch platforms. Jake recognized the sleek, angular shapes of alien military craft alongside what appeared to be Lisa's standard F-35. Admiral Brooks found Jake in the crowd and gestured toward the VIP section where human military leadership had gathered. Morrison, you'll want to see this from the command viewing area, she said. They moved through the crowd to a raised platform where senior officers from various human colonies had assembled. The atmosphere was tense, with quiet conversations and worried expressions on most faces. Colonel Davis pointed toward the main screen. There she is. Lisa walked across the hangar floor toward her aircraft, wearing a standard flight suit and helmet. From this distance, she looked small and vulnerable compared to the alien pilots preparing their own craft. The Zephyrian pilot, War Commander Vexitar, stood beside a craft that looked more like a weapon than a vehicle. The Void-class Interceptor stretched nearly twice the length of Lisa's F-35, with swept-back wings that gleamed with energy fields. Weapon ports lined its hull and the entire craft seemed to vibrate with barely contained power. The Karathi representative emerged from what appeared to be a living ship. The biomechanical craft pulsed with organic rhythms, its surface covered in what looked like scales or chitin. The pilot wore armor that seemed to connect directly to the ship's nervous system. The hegemony fighter was the most advanced-looking of all. Its hull shifted and adapted constantly, showing different configurations for different flight modes. The pilot was encased in a suit that made him look more machine than organic being. The Mantid Collective had sent a drone swarm that operated as a single unit, controlled by a hive-mind intelligence that connected all the individual craft together. Ladies and gentlemen, the station commander announced over the communication system, welcome to the Nexus Station Combat Trials. 5 representatives will compete in a series of challenges designed to test piloting skill, tactical thinking, and combat effectiveness. Jake watched Lisa perform her pre-flight checks. Her movements were precise and professional, but her aircraft looked painfully outdated compared to the alien craft surrounding it. Phase 1 begins now, the announcer continued. Navigation through the Kepler asteroid field. Pilots must reach the designated checkpoint while avoiding collision with space debris. Time and accuracy will determine scoring. The 5 craft launched from the hangar bay in sequence. Jake watched through the observation cameras as they entered the asteroid field. A dense collection of rocks and ice chunks that stretched for thousands of kilometers. The Zephyrian interceptor took the lead immediately, its powerful engines allowing it to accelerate quickly between obstacles. The craft moved with brutal efficiency, using raw speed to overcome navigation challenges. The Karathi bioship moved differently, seeming to sense the location of asteroids before encountering them. Its organic sensors gave it advantages in the cluttered environment. The hegemony fighter adapted its configuration constantly, becoming narrow to slip through tight spaces and widening its wings for better maneuverability around large obstacles. The Mantid swarm spread out to cover multiple paths through the field, sharing information between drone units to find optimal routes. Lisa's F-35 appeared to struggle. The craft moved more slowly than the others, taking longer to navigate around obstacles. Several times she seemed to lose her way, backtracking to find clearer paths. "She's falling behind," Colonel Davis said, worry clear in his voice. Jake watched, the tactical display showing pilot positions. Lisa was indeed in last place, nearly 2 minutes behind the leading Zephyrian craft. "Maybe the pressure got to her," someone said behind them. Admiral Brooks remained silent, but Jake could see tension in her posture. The first challenge concluded with predictable results. Vextar finished first, followed closely by the Karathi pilot. The hegemony representative came in third, the Mantid swarm fourth, and Lisa finished last by a significant margin. In the alien viewing sections, Jake could hear sounds of satisfaction and amusement. The aliens had expected easy victory, and the initial results confirmed their assumptions. "Phase 2, the announcer said. "Precision targeting exercise. Pilots must destroy designated targets while avoiding civilian structures. Accuracy and damage limitation will determine scoring." The challenge area was a simulated city environment with military targets mixed among civilian buildings. Each pilot had to identify and destroy enemy installations while avoiding harm to non-combatant structures. The Zephyrian approach was direct and overwhelming. Vextar's interceptor unleashed massive firepower, destroying targets with brutal efficiency. However, his aggressive tactics also damaged several civilian structures, resulting in penalty points. The Karathi pilot used more selective targeting, but still caused significant collateral damage due to the organic weapon's tendency to spread beyond intended targets. The hegemony fighter performed better, adapting its weapons for precise strikes. The pilot demonstrated excellent target identification and minimal civilian damage. The Mantid swarm coordinated perfectly, with some drones providing targeting information while others executed precise strikes. Their collective intelligence gave them significant advantages in the complex scenario. Lisa's performance again appeared disappointing. Her targeting seemed slow and hesitant. She missed several targets entirely and took much longer than other pilots to complete the exercise. However, Jake noticed something the others had missed. While Lisa's total score was lower due to missed targets, she had caused 0 civilian damage. Every shot she fired hit exactly what she intended to hit. "Interesting approach," Admiral Brooks said quietly. Phase 2 results showed Lisa still in last place overall. But Jake began to see a pattern. Her apparent poor performance masked something else entirely. The third phase involved high-speed maneuvering through a complex obstacle course. The pilots had to navigate tight turns, sudden elevation changes, and moving barriers while maintaining maximum speed. The alien pilots approached this challenge with their usual aggressive tactics. Raw speed and power dominated their strategies, with impressive times but several near collisions with obstacles. Lisa's F-35 again appeared to struggle. Her times were slower, her maneuvers less dramatic, but Jake noticed that her flight path was smoother, more efficient. While other pilots fought against the obstacles, she seemed to flow around them. More importantly, Jake began to observe that Lisa was studying her opponents as much as completing the challenges. Her flight patterns allowed her to observe how each alien craft handled different situations, what their strengths were, and where their weaknesses might lie. By the end of the third phase, the alien pilots were celebrating their dominant performance. Lisa remained in last place across all categories, appearing to confirm every stereotype about human military weakness. In the viewing areas, alien observers made jokes about human capabilities. Some were already discussing the territorial concessions humanity would be forced to make after the inevitable defeat. But Jake watched Lisa's debriefing on the tactical channel. She was taking detailed notes, asking her support crew specific questions about alien craft performance, and reviewing flight data with the intensity of someone conducting scientific research. "She's not trying to win the early phases," Jake realized aloud. Admiral Brooks nodded. "She's gathering intelligence, learning everything she can about their capabilities before the real contest begins." Colonel Davis looked confused. "The real contest?" Admiral Brooks pointed to the competition schedule. "Phases 4 and 5, Complex combat maneuvering and pilot versus pilot engagement. That's where this will be decided. Jake felt a chill of understanding. Lisa had been allowing the aliens to demonstrate their full capabilities while concealing her own. She was learning their tactical patterns, their weapon ranges, their maneuvering limitations. The aliens thought they were dominating a weak human pilot. In reality, they were providing detailed intelligence to someone who specialized in analyzing and countering enemy capabilities. Tomorrow would bring the final phases of the competition. Jake suspected the aliens were about to discover that they had been overconfident about their advantages. The question was whether Lisa's intelligence gathering would be enough to overcome the technological superiority of the alien craft, or whether humanity was about to lose colonies that millions of people called home. The second day of competition began with Phase 4, the complex combat maneuvering test. Jake arrived at the observation deck early, finding the viewing areas even more crowded than the day before. Word of the competition had spread across multiple star systems, and beings from dozens of worlds had gathered to watch what many expected to be humanity's humiliating defeat. The alien viewing sections buzzed with confidence. Zephyrian officers wore ceremonial armor to celebrate their anticipated victory. Karathi warriors clicked their mandibles in anticipation. Hegemony commanders had already begun discussing the territorial redistributions that would follow human withdrawal from contested systems. Admiral Brooks joined Jake at the command viewing platform, her expression calm despite the enormous pressure. "How is she feeling about today?" Jake asked. "Confident," Admiral Brooks replied. "More confident than I've seen any pilot before a major engagement." On the main screen, the Phase 4 arena appeared. Unlike the previous challenges, this environment was designed for combat. Artificial asteroids provided cover, energy fields created obstacles, and defensive platforms would fire on any pilot who stayed in one location too long. The challenge required pilots to survive in this hostile environment for 30 minutes, while completing various tactical objectives. Points were awarded for objectives completed, enemy simulations destroyed, and overall survival time. The 5 pilots prepared their craft in the staging area. The alien ships looked as impressive as ever, their advanced weapons and shields gleaming under the hangar lights. Lisa's F-35 sat among them, looking plain and outdated. "Beginning Phase 4, the announcer declared. Complex combat maneuvering in hostile environment. The craft launched in sequence, entering the combat zone one at a time. The Mantid Swarm went first, their collective intelligence allowing them to coordinate perfectly with each other. They spread out across the battlefield, using their numbers to complete multiple objectives simultaneously, while providing mutual support. The Hegemony fighter entered next, its adaptive hull immediately shifting to match the combat environment. Weapon ports opened and closed as needed, while its shields reconfigured to handle different threat types. The Karathi bioship pulsed with organic energy as it entered the zone. Its living weapons seemed to hunt targets independently, while the craft itself moved with fluid grace through the obstacle field. War Commander Vextar's Zephyrian interceptor roared into the combat area with typical aggression. The craft's massive engines propelled it at incredible speeds, while its heavy weapons destroyed everything in its path. Finally, Lisa's F-35 entered the arena. For the first few minutes, her performance seemed to match the previous day's disappointing results. She moved cautiously, avoiding direct confrontation with the defensive systems and taking longer to reach objectives than her opponents. Jake watched the tactical displays with growing concern. Lisa was falling behind again, completing fewer objectives, and scoring lower than the alien pilots. Then something changed. Lisa's F-35 suddenly accelerated beyond anything it had shown before. The craft moved so quickly that the tracking cameras struggled to follow it. More importantly, it was moving in ways that should have been impossible for any aircraft. "What the hell?" Colonel Davis said, staring at the display. Lisa's craft performed a maneuver that bent physics, turning at angles that should have torn any pilot apart from the forces involved. Yet the F-35 completed the turn smoothly and immediately engaged 3 targets simultaneously. The alien pilots stopped what they were doing to watch. This was not the same aircraft that had struggled through the previous challenges. Lisa's weapons fired, and Jake saw energy beams unlike anything in standard human arsenal. The shots were precise beyond belief, each one hitting exactly where Lisa intended despite the extreme range and moving targets. War Commander Vextar tried to intercept Lisa's craft, bringing his interceptor around in a high-speed attack run. The Zephyrian ship was fast and heavily armed, designed to overwhelm opponents with superior firepower. Lisa's F-35 simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not hidden behind cover, but actually vanished from all sensors and visual tracking. The stealth capabilities were so advanced that even the competition's monitoring systems lost track of the craft. Vextar fired his weapons at where Lisa had been, hitting nothing but empty space. His interceptor swept the area, trying to find any trace of the human pilot. Lisa reappeared directly behind the Zephyrian craft, less than 100 meters away. Her weapons locked onto Vextar's ship and fired a single precise shot that disabled his engines without destroying the craft. The massive Zephyrian interceptor tumbled helplessly through space, its pilot unable to regain control. The Karathi pilot tried next, using his bioship's organic sensors to track Lisa's movements. The living craft should have been able to detect her through any stealth system. Lisa's F-35 moved in patterns that confused the bioship's tracking systems. She seemed to be in multiple places at once, using speed and maneuvering that defied the organic sensor's ability to process information. When Lisa fired on the Karathi craft, her weapons bypassed its living shields entirely. The bioship shuddered and went dormant, its organic systems shutting down to prevent further damage. The hegemony pilot, seeing two opponents defeated in minutes, tried to adapt his craft's systems to counter Lisa's capabilities. His ship reconfigured, itself constantly, searching for the right combination of speed, shields, and weapons to match the human pilot. Lisa's response was to demonstrate that her F-35 could adapt faster than any artificial intelligence. Her craft shifted through configurations that the hegemony ship couldn't match, staying one step ahead of every adaptation attempt. The hegemony fighter's advanced computer systems overloaded trying to process the impossible flight data. The craft shut down its main systems and drifted helplessly in the combat zone. The Mantid swarm tried to use their numbers advantage, surrounding Lisa's position with multiple drone units. Their collective intelligence should have made it impossible for any single pilot to escape. Lisa's F-35 moved through the swarm like it was standing still. Her weapons fired in all directions simultaneously, each shot perfectly timed and aimed. In less than 30 seconds, every drone in the swarm was disabled. The combat zone fell silent except for the disabled alien craft drifting through space. Jake stared at the tactical display, barely believing what he had witnessed. In less than 10 minutes, Lisa had defeated 4 of the most advanced military pilots in known space. The alien viewing sections had gone completely quiet. The confident discussions and ceremonial preparations had stopped. Thousands of beings sat in shocked silence trying to process what they had just seen. Admiral Brooks spoke into her communication device. "All stations, confirm the sensor readings. I want verification of everything we just recorded." Responses came back immediately. Every system on Nexus Station had recorded the same impossible data. Lisa's F-35 had performed maneuvers and demonstrated capabilities that exceeded anything in known technology. On the main screen, Lisa's craft moved calmly through the combat zone, completing the remaining objectives with casual efficiency. Her weapons hit targets that other pilots had missed entirely. Her flight patterns were so smooth they looked effortless. The 30-minute challenge ended with Lisa having completed every possible objective while disabling all 4 opponent craft. Her score was higher than the combined totals of all other pilots. War Commander Vextar's voice came over the communication channel speaking to the judges. "Request immediate review of human pilots' equipment. These capabilities are not possible with declared technology." The judges, representing neutral species, reviewed all technical specifications and sensor data. After 20 minutes of analysis, their response was broadcast to the entire station. All equipment meets declared specifications. F-35 Lightning II fighter operates within stated parameters. No violations detected. Jake looked at Admiral Brooks. They have no idea what they just witnessed, do they? They're about to find out, she replied. Phase 5 begins in 1 hour. Direct pilot versus pilot combat. Winner takes all. Jake realized that everything they had seen so far was just preparation. The real contest was about to begin, and Lisa had just shown the galaxy that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The aliens were no longer confident about their chances, but they were trapped by their own challenge, forced to continue a contest they now suspected they could not win. In the alien viewing sections, military commanders whispered urgent conversations into their communication devices. Jake suspected that fleet positions and invasion plans were being reconsidered across multiple star systems. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength. Now they had to prove they could use it when everything was on the line. The hour between Phase 4 and the final challenge passed in tense silence. Jake watched alien military commanders throughout the observation deck speaking urgently into communication devices. Their confident celebration had turned to worried planning sessions. Admiral Brooks stood beside Jake, monitoring reports from Terran Defense Command. Fleet movements detected in 17 sectors, she said quietly. The aliens are repositioning their forces. Because of what they saw today? Jake asked. Because they realize they may have misjudged human capabilities by several orders of magnitude. On the main screen, technicians prepared the arena for Phase 5. Unlike the previous challenges, this would be simple and direct. 2 pilots, 2 aircraft, 1 winner. The last human standing would determine the fate of colonies across multiple star systems. The alien pilots had been given time to repair and refuel their craft. War Commander Vextar's interceptor showed new modifications, additional weapons hastily installed during the break. The other alien representatives had similarly upgraded their ships, adding every available system to counter Lisa's demonstrated advantages. Lisa's F-35 sat unchanged in the staging area. No modifications, no upgrades, no additional weapons. From external appearance, it remained the same obsolete human fighter that had entered the competition. Phase 5 begins now, the announcer declared. Direct combat engagement. All participants will enter the arena simultaneously. Last pilot with operational aircraft wins all territorial claims. Jake felt his stomach tighten. This was different from the previous phases. This was actual combat with real weapons and real consequences. One mistake would end everything. The arena was a spherical space 10 kilometers in diameter with minimal obstacles. No place to hide, no complicated objectives. Just pilots and their skills facing each other in open battle. Lisa's F-35 launched first, followed by the 4 alien craft. The 5 aircraft spread out across the arena, maintaining distance while pilots assessed the situation. War Commander Vextar's voice came over the communication channel. Human pilot, your demonstration was impressive, but deception will not save you now. Prepare for honorable defeat. Lisa's response was calm and professional. Acknowledged, War Commander. Good luck. The battle began immediately. The Mantid swarm, rebuilt and reinforced, attacked first. Dozens of drone units spread across the arena, trying to surround Lisa's position from every direction. Lisa's F-35 moved through the swarm with the same impossible agility they had seen before. But this time, instead of disabling the drones, she began studying their coordination patterns. Her craft weaved between attacks, seemingly testing how the collective intelligence responded to different threats. The Karathi bioship joined the attack, its organic weapons seeking to overwhelm Lisa with sheer firepower. The living craft pulsed, with aggressive energy, launching projectiles that tracked their targets through space. Lisa's stealth systems activated, making her craft partially invisible. But instead of disappearing completely, she remained visible enough for the bioship's sensors to track her. Jake realized she was deliberately allowing the aliens to see how their detection systems worked. The hegemony fighter adapted its configuration for maximum firepower and engaged Lisa directly. Its weapons were more advanced than anything the other aliens possessed, capable of adjusting their output to counter different defensive systems. Lisa's F-35 absorbed hit after hit from the hegemony weapons, her shields flaring with each impact. The alien pilot pressed his attack, convinced that sustained fire would overcome human defenses. Then Lisa's shields did something impossible. Instead of weakening under the assault, they began redirecting the incoming energy. The hegemony weapon's own power was turned against other alien craft in the arena. War Commander Vextar realized what was happening and tried to withdraw his interceptor from the battle. His craft was fast and heavily armored, designed for hit-and-run tactics rather than sustained engagement. Lisa's F-35 pursued the Zephyrian ship with speed that made their previous demonstrations look slow. She closed the distance in seconds despite Vextar's desperate evasive maneuvers. But instead of destroying the interceptor, Lisa's weapons fired precise shots that disabled specific systems. First the weapons, then the shields, then the engines. She systematically reduced the mighty Zephyrian warship to a helpless hulk, drifting through space. The pattern repeated with each alien craft. Lisa demonstrated superiority over every system they possessed, then disabled rather than destroyed their ships. Within 15 minutes, all 4 alien aircraft floated powerless in the arena. Lisa's F-35 moved calmly among the defeated craft, her weapons trained on each one but not firing. Contest complete, the judges announced. Human representative victorious, all territorial claims resolved in favor of Terran Defense Corps. The alien viewing sections remained silent. Thousands of beings sat in shock, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Their most advanced military technology had been defeated by what appeared to be obsolete human equipment. Admiral Brooks activated her communication system, broadcasting to the entire station. Attention all personnel. By the terms agreed upon, humanity retains all disputed territories. The Terran Defense Corps claims victory in all challenges. Jake expected celebration, but Admiral Brooks continued speaking. However, this contest was about more than territorial disputes. The alien coalition requested a demonstration of human military capabilities. We have provided that demonstration. On the main screen, technical specifications appeared. Not for Lisa's F-35, but for the entire Lightning III development program. Advanced stealth systems, directed energy weapons, adaptive shielding, and propulsion technology that exceeded anything previously known. The F-35 Lightning III represents 15 years of research and development, Admiral Brooks announced. But more importantly, it represents human ingenuity applied to the challenges of galactic defense. Jake watched alien commanders throughout the observation deck. Their expressions ranged from shock to fear to grudging respect. Admiral Brooks continued her announcement. Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Carter volunteered for this mission knowing that revealing our capabilities would change the balance of power in this region. Her sacrifice of operational security has prevented a larger conflict. The truth became clear to Jake. This entire contest had been designed to prevent war. By demonstrating overwhelming superiority in a controlled environment, humanity had made military action against their colonies too costly to consider. Lisa's voice came over the communication channel. Station control, requesting permission to dock. Mission complete. As her F-35 returned to the hangar bay, Jake realized the full scope of what had happened. The woman in the yellow dress had not just won a contest, she had prevented an invasion and reshaped the political landscape of 3 star systems. War Commander Vextar's voice broke the silence in the arena. Human pilot, you have demonstrated capabilities we did not believe possible. The Zephyrian military caste acknowledges human strength. Similar acknowledgments came from the other alien representatives. The Karathi spoke of respect for worthy opponents. The hegemony commanders discussed potential cooperation rather than conflict. Even the Mantid Collective expressed interest in peaceful relations. Hours later, Jake found Lisa in the station's pilot briefing room, still wearing her flight suit and reviewing mission data. How does it feel to single-handedly prevent a war? He asked. Lisa looked up from her reports. It feels like doing my job, Commander Morrison. Your job was to fly an experimental aircraft and gather intelligence. Lisa smiled. My job was to protect human colonies and prevent unnecessary conflict. The flying was just the delivery method. Jake sat down across from her. The aliens will be studying everything they recorded today. They'll be trying to develop countermeasures. They're welcome to try, Lisa said. The Lightning III is already 2 generations behind our current development program. Jake stared at her. There are more advanced aircraft? There are more advanced everything, Commander. Humans have been preparing for galactic conflict since we first encountered aggressive alien species. Today was just the first time we had to show our cards. She closed her reports and stood to leave. The yellow dress was prettier than the flight suit, but this was more fun. As Lisa left the briefing room, Jake remained behind, thinking about everything that had changed in the past 3 days. Humanity had entered the contest as an apparently weak species facing extinction. They had emerged as a major military power that other civilizations would respect and fear. The woman in the yellow dress had flown an F-35 right into their assumptions and destroyed them completely. Jake suspected that the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again, and he was certain that was exactly what Lisa Carter had intended from the beginning. Outside the briefing room, alien delegations were already requesting meetings with human representatives. The conversation had shifted from conquest to cooperation. From invasion to negotiation, humanity had passed their test. Now they had to live with the consequences of being recognized as one of the galaxy's most dangerous species. Jake thought that was probably better than the alternative.